Hey everyone, so you're studying Bali Rai's Unarranged Marriage, and you've got a seminar or an exam just around the corner. You are in exactly the right place. We are going to unpack this entire novel from all the family drama to its super powerful final message. Let's dive in.
Right away, the book just drops us into the middle of the crisis with this quote. We meet our main guy, Manny, not at the beginning of his story, but at his most desperate point. He's literally hiding in a smelly service station toilet on the way to his own wedding, a wedding he wants absolutely nothing to do with. This opening is just brilliant because it immediately sets this tone of feeling trapped, which is what his entire life has been about.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to explore Manny's world and see why he feels so trapped. Then, we'll meet the key people in his life, the ones holding the cage door shut and the ones trying to help him open it. We'll get into the big themes, look at the huge turning point in India, and then the great escape. And to wrap it all up, I've got a guide to help you absolutely nail that seminar discussion.
So let's start with Manny's world. And honestly, the best way to picture his life in Leicester is to think of it as a cage built by his own family's rules and traditions.
And these points right here, these are the actual bars of that cage. And look, this is so much more than just typical teenage drama. His dad is physically abusive. He literally uses a hockey stick to beat his kids. Manny has zero privacy, stuck in a tiny, smelly room with his brother. The one thing he loves, education, his family just calls a waste of time. Even his friendships are under attack. And because he's smart and likes to read, his own brothers call him a coconut, a really nasty insult that means he's brown on the outside but supposedly white on the inside. All this for just trying to be himself.
And then, bam! The final bar slams shut. Just as Manny is starting to dream about his future, about getting away, his dad drops this bombshell. He's getting married to a girl in India he's never even seen. And it's not a discussion, it's an order. This unarranged marriage becomes the absolute center of the story. It's the ultimate symbol of his complete lack of freedom.
So let's look at the people in his life. You can basically split them into two teams. Team Control, who are all about keeping him in that cage, and Team Freedom, the few allies who show him there's a world outside of it.
And this right here really gets to the heart of the whole novel. It's a total clash of worlds. On one side, you've got Manny, who just wants freedom, education, a little bit of choice. And on the other, you've got his father, who is all about tradition, control, obedience, and this concept of is it, or family honor. They are on two completely different planets. A major conflict is basically guaranteed.
So leading Team Tradition is of course his dad. He's the violent patriarch dead set on enforcing the old ways. And his backup? Manny's older brothers, Harry and Ranjit. They're more than just bullies. They're like a walking, talking preview of the future Manny is so terrified of. A future with no education, no ambition, just obedience.
But luckily, Manny isn't completely alone in his fight. He's got his best friend, Addie, who is his connection to a normal, fun teenage life. And then there's Lisa, his girlfriend. She and her amazing, open-minded family show Manny what real love and support actually look like. They give him a powerful vision of the future he's fighting for.
Okay, so we've met all the players. Now let's dig into the big ideas, the core themes of the novel. And yeah, you can think of these as the intellectual bars that make out Manny's cage.
First up, and this is a huge one, is the identity crisis. Manny is literally torn between two worlds. At home, he has to be Manjeet, the obedient Punjabi son. But outside, with his friends, he gets to be Manny, just a regular British teenager. He's constantly switching back and forth, living this double life, and it just leaves him wondering, who am I, really? Where do I actually fit in? And of course, that identity crisis fuels the main engine of the whole story, freedom versus tradition. Everything Manny wants for himself, who to date, what to study, is seen by his family as a direct attack on their traditions. And that arranged marriage, well, that becomes the ultimate battleground for this fight.
So how does the family enforce all this tradition? Their number one tool is izzat, or family honor. But for Manny's dad, this isn't about personal integrity. No, it's about public reputation. It's about control. So anytime Manny steps out of line, it's framed as him shaming the family, which then gives them the excuse to react harshly. It's not a value, it's a weapon.
All of this pressure builds and builds until it finally explodes when the family takes a trip to India. This is the moment Manny's metaphorical cage becomes a very, very real trap.
So the trip starts with a massive culture shock. Manny's overwhelmed by everything, but that quickly turns into an absolute nightmare. He literally wakes up one morning to find his family is gone. They've just left him there. They flew back to England and took his passport to make sure he's forced to go through with the wedding. This is his lowest point. He is trapped, he is powerless, and he is completely alone. But then, just when all hope is lost, his uncle Jag shows up. Now, Jag is the family's black sheep because he's educated, he's modern, and he challenges their old-fashioned views. He sees what's happening to Manny and gives him not just a plan to escape, but also the courage to actually do it.
And this quote, wow, it just captures Manny's devastation perfectly. The betrayal is just so deep. It's not just that they trapped him, it's that they used his trust, that last little bit of hope he had in them, to do it. And that's the exact moment that any love he had left for his family is just gone. It's severed for good.
Which brings us to the big climax of the novel and its resolution. We're talking about the escape and what it all really means.
So, thanks to Uncle Jag, Manny gets back to England just in time for his own wedding. But this time, he's the one in control. On the day of the ceremony, in one last, huge act of defiance, he escapes from the temple toilets where his buddy Addie is waiting with the getaway car. He chooses himself, he chooses freedom. He leaves their traditions behind forever.
So what's the author's message here? It's powerful, and it's not subtle. Bali Rai is making it clear that self-determination, the right to choose your own life, is fundamental. The novel is a major critique of when tradition becomes toxic, when it's used not to celebrate a culture, but to control and crush a person's spirit.
Okay, so you've got the story, you get the themes. Now let's get you totally ready for that seminar with some key points for your analysis. Here are 5 killer talking points to have ready. First, talk about the different types of masculinity, the father's violence versus Manny's sensitivity. Second, look at how the setting changes everything. How does multicultural Leicester compare to rural India? Third, and this is a great one for a debate, are Manny's smaller rebellions, like stealing, actually justified? Fourth, explore the whole idea of family. Compare his biological family to the chosen family he finds with his friends. And finally, really dig deep into that critique of tradition when it's used as a weapon. And this table right here, this is basically your ultimate revision cheat sheet. It boils the entire book down to its 3 biggest conflicts. You've got Manny versus his dad, the freedom of Leicester versus the restrictions of India, and the support of Uncle Jag versus the control of the rest of the family. Super helpful to keep these in mind. And we'll leave you with this final thought, because it's really the question at the heart of the entire novel. Is it possible to honor where you come from without sacrificing who you are? Can you find a balance? The novel gives one pretty dramatic answer, but it's a question that's definitely worth thinking about long after you've closed the book. Thanks for watching.